What is up?
Welcome to July and Skillshare. James is going to share some stuff about Storyboard Pro and about his professional journey as a storyboarder. We have cookies around the room. Please help yourself, eat them all, otherwise I will have 10 cookies this afternoon.
Hello! How y'all doing? So I'm James Sugrue. I've been at Titmouse for about almost 9 years. And when I first started, I was an animator, and some of the shows that one of my personal favorites were Superjail, and then led to China, Illinois, followed by King Star King, and then we went on to Half Shell Heroes. That was a lot of fun. Home was very, very cute and squishy, and Bubba Bear. And then Hanazuki, and of course my little short film with Titmouse, Bluehilda. Look at her go. And I really love to animate, but as time went on, I realized that I shouldn't always be animating. I want to learn something else. And I took an interest in storyboarding, and we were getting some more pre-production work, and that started with Hanazuki. But when I took the test for season 1, I did not get it. Okay, no big deal. I'll try again next time. But in between that time, I took Steve On's storyboarding class, which was very helpful. Gave us a lot of interesting tips and a lot of interesting insights about things that, like, oh shit, I never thought of that before. I was just thinking about making pretty drawings of characters. And then I took season 2 test for Hanazuki. I got a revisionist position, and I thought that was a great little segue to know how Storyboard Pro works. And because for the longest time, whenever I did storyboards, I just did it directly in Flash because I assumed, oh, we'll just do an animatic and everything. But Storyboard Pro actually makes things a hell of a lot easier. So I'm going to show you an example of something of T.O.T.S that actually aired today. So typically, whenever we do T.O.T.S, we are given 2 weeks to do a rough and 2 weeks to do cleanup. And this is what typically a rough can look like. So basically, it's just you're jotting down ideas, you're just doing gestural drawings, there's nothing too detailed in it yet, you're just showing what everything's going to look like on screen before everything's tightened up and pretty. And then after your director gives you your notes, you go back and hit those notes, and on top of that is, you know, just making the drawings a little bit tighter. And this wasn't just me, this was also revisionist work, adding stuff like maybe the backgrounds. And this is what it looks like when it was finished, and I honestly thought they did a good job. So like one of the things I learned about doing storyboard, like in general, was just you have to make sure everything's nice and clear for the other animators to work with, because essentially whatever you put on the screen, that's going to somebody else. So you have to make sure everything is cut interesting and everything flows perfectly. What the heck?
That's T.O.T.S. They're having a meeting right now.
No, not right now.
That's why you sign out of your stuff.
It's weird that it came
And
out
this is what a storyboard profile essentially looks like, but I'm going to show you the meat and potatoes of how everything gets started. So, the first thing you want to do, like for example, say if you were starting a new file, you know, you can label it project whatever, make sure everything is 24 frames per second, 19 by 20, 18 by 19, you know, the correct aspect ratio and 24 frames per second, and then you create it, but also just make sure that you put it in a place where you know you're going to find it. Like, you know, your desktop or a special little folder, or as Jesse likes to say, the server. Don't do that. But since I already created a file, we're going to open one up of something just for this lesson. So I'm going to show you something I put together. So typically whenever we do storyboards, like you have different workspaces. This is the thumbnail workspace, and you can see like everything across the board. And you can do...
James, real quick, when you say everything across the board, what do you mean?
Like, you know, you can just see everything.
Like all your panels?
Yeah,
okay.
Right down here, from beginning to end. But we mostly prefer working in the timeline view, because that way, say when you have to import audio, you go over here. Oh, hello. Like, we typically like import audio for some of our shows. So you would go to import sound clips, and then you would locate what you're looking for, and it would be around here. Actually, let's go back to that T.O.T.S file for 1 second, about the sound file. What's great about importing audio into T.O.T.S, or just any show, is like you can scrub through it, but say if I wanted to have like a certain amount of timing, you can right-click the audio. Like say if Pip's like, so what kind of animal is she? Say if I wanted to hold that for a little bit longer. So you right-click, and you could split it, and then you could adjust the timing any way you want at that point. And then that way that little so can hold on a little bit longer, like, so what kind of animal is she? And that's like a good way to do sound editing as well. And you can also go up to preferences. Now there are shortcuts, but like let's find play for example. Like, no, not that one. Panel. All right, let's see here. Panel. Well, essentially, like, you can see all your shortcuts here, but there's some shortcuts that don't have a keyframe, so you can just click on, like, say, import a sound file, and I wanted it to be, this, for example, Q, and then, like, we just say OK, and then once I hit Q, then it pops up. So you can also create your own shortcuts across the board. And then, let's go back to the little lesson part. Fuck that. So essentially, these are your drawing tools. Here is your brush tool, and here is the different widths that you have. Like, you could use any of them, but you can adjust the size any way you wish. It looks like this. It really feels nice. And here's the pencil tool. We don't use that one as much. I highly recommend use the brush tool because it just makes your workflow go a lot better. And what's great about using the brush tool in general, like say if I was drawing this, you can click on all these little individual lines and just delete them. So, for example, if you guys use Harmony, like most of the preferences in that are in this as well. So we can get rid of this. And
Sorry, I have a question.
what's
Can you edit the lines after you draw them?
yes, you can convert them to pencil lines or the brush lines, but I haven't played around with that quite as much. But there's definitely that option to like change the lines. And what else is great? Like say when you're working on certain layers and it's like, wait, all this schmutz is in the way. How am I supposed to know what to do? Well, we can solve that problem. You turn on this little light bulb icon, and whatever space you're working on, everything else is just the opacity is taken out. Is like they throw a little opacity on it, so you don't have to do like a stupid little alpha layer on your layers. Like it's already there for you. And so typically, this is what a rough pass can look like. And you know, when you do your rough passes, you just want to get the gestures down. And since like you're kind of on a time crunch to do this stuff fast, you wanna, okay. You just wanna just get the idea down like that. So it's like, if she's running, it's not cleaned up, but you can clearly see she's running. Or she is jumping. As long as the director or the people behind the show can clearly see what the action is. Like, you don't have to make your drawings pretty right off the get-go. It's just, you're telling the story, so you're all good to go. And then, typically, you could go over your rough and clean it up any way you wish. Like, as you can see, I like to draw through some of my cleans, and there's some lines that are showing up, and, you know, can't have that. I want it to be a little bit cleaner. So, you can go up to this cutter tool in the corner, and then you can just magically, no, not that. You want to swipe, you can swipe some of this little schmutz away. Not that either, like that, and that.
And it selects things by the intersecting lines?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's just like,
Yes, it is. And hey, look, it's starting to look a little bit cleaner. And then, you know, it can look like that in the end. And the other good thing is, when you do storyboarding, I highly recommend using a thicker line, because even when you do your roughs, like whenever I do T.O.T.S, you know, if I draw Pip, you know, this is my rough pass for him. And look, like, you got something going. Because in the beginning, I used to do this. And that's not helpful at all. I mean, it's nice as a gestural drawing, but don't do that. It's because you're on a tight schedule, and it's just better to work fast and smart. And the other good thing about doing it this way is, say if I wanted to clean it up, you know, you can add all this other stuff later on. And then, you know, if I wanted to merge it together, right click, merge layers, and then you can do the same thing. Cut out all the, well, okay, the lines weren't intersecting there, but you could essentially cut out all that other intersecting lines as well. Now, the other thing is, usually when this stuff gets printed, or if it's going to be on a QuickTime, it's going to look like that. And wait, all these lines are fighting with the characters. How do you fix that? This is another handy tool. Like, I like to use different colors for the characters I work with. Like, you know, for example, Bluehilda's blue, so we're going to make her purple.
makes sense.
And you can use this tool, like paint unpainted, like any lines that aren't colored, you find that. But also you have to make sure your lines are, any broken lines are filled in certain little corners. And then when you do that, it's like, oh my god, it's...
So if you just like use that tool and you like make the storyboard around everything, it just paints it on it.
Yeah, as long as your lines are closed. Like, if not, you're gonna have to, and this is another cool thing with the brush tool, you have a paint behind option, which is right down here. And for example, let's get rid of that. Like, oh no, that's broken. No worries, just paint, and if the line shows up right underneath it, and then you're done.
Is there an option to like fill in gaps, like in, you know, Flash or, you know, that thing?
I haven't seen if that works, but
There is, but it's
You're
not
fine. But and again, this is what it looks like color filled. But oh no, some director tells me, why did you make her purple for this? I hate it. Okay, fine, we'll make her blue. And the good thing is, you don't have to, like, yeah, you could manually click on these, but that takes too fucking long. So what you can do is select by color, like in Harmony. ta-da, all that purple's gone now. And then here's another cool thing. Like, say if you want to do it a little bit faster with coloring your characters, there's also the matte tool. You hit Command M. Oh, you know what? This is different than what I...
James, if you said selected by color and deleted, could you have just like selected by color and just recolored it, like recolored the shapes?
I don't think Storyboard has that, like, harmony.
Oh wait, really?
I haven't looked into that yet, but oh, here we go. Matte. Yeah, here we go. Let's say let's just do this Command M for now. There we go. Command M.
It's set to just M.
Oh, there we go. And then this shows up, and then let's just see how this looks. Okay, that might be a little bit too much. Like 50. And you can do that as well. The matte comes underneath the lines, and that can work as well. Now let's see here. And here's another really useful tool.
Does that work by layer, James, or drawing? Or both?
Oh, the matte?
Yeah, like will it just do it on everything that's on that layer?
Yes.
Okay.
Just as long as you're on that, yes, whatever selected layer it is, it's going to do that. And let's say when the people want to see a quick time of your storyboard and like you want to have the characters moving. I mean, obviously, we're not going to make everything move because this is not animation, it's an animatic. But as you can see, oh my god, they're moving in space.
It is animation, you lied.
Whoops. Now, to do that, it's a little bit like After Effects. So what you do is you click on this, like let's unclick them for 1 second. Let's just play pretend. So I click on this little dude here, and right below here is a keyframe, and then we can go to the end of the panel and properties. Okay, let's see here. Oh, we need to click on this square right here. Then we add another keyframe at the end, and you want to make sure that everything looks perfectly fine. So at your end layer, you want to click on this blue box right here, because that's for when you want to tween all your drawings. And then when you grab it and do whatever you want with it, it's
That is
whoops, wait, no, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Let's get rid of this one. No, not that. But essentially, like, okay. But essentially, when you put like your point here and point here, it's going to tween for you. But just always make sure you use this box right here.
What's that called? That sort of...
I think it's just.
super transform.
I think it's.
That's alright if you can't find it.
Yeah, that one, like some of the names I haven't like learned
Yeah.
everything yet, but essentially, yeah, this will work. And the other cool thing is, say if I wanted to add a little bit of like a little color to the background as well, and I wanted to have like a gradient, what you do is you click on this, click on gradient, and maybe there could be a little bit of a sunset kind of setting, like something like that. That looks pretty, and it could be either linear or radial. And when you paint it, oh, sorry, you get that, but you can also use this tool, the edit gradient texture, and you could move your points around wherever you want. That's gonna work. Like, wait, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be, something like that. So it looks like, hey, there's a little bit of dawn happening right now. And typically, whenever we do some of our shows, we get a script, and if they need to print a PDF, we need to, put everything in the dialogue boxes or action boxes. But, you don't want to waste your time typing all that stuff. And there's an easier way to do it. So what you do is you go to this panel here. Let's just get rid of this for 1 second. For example, you go to import caption. And here we go. This is a script of T.O.T.S. You click on it. Make sure it's a text file, because typically we get a PDF.
Sorry. Is it dead?
Did you get it?
I've got one of them.
Alright.
But typically whenever we get a script, it's usually in PDF format, and that's a little bit hard to drop in. So you have to go in that extra mile and make it into a text file. So that's what I did. And then when I choose the text file, oh my God, the entire script is here.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And then say if I need my dialogue, you can just copy and paste it right into the dialogue box. So you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Never have to type again.
No, you don't. And the other great thing is, say if some executive doesn't feel like watching a video of your stuff, he wants to see a little comic strip of it. And it's like, okay, fine, you can do that. So you go to export, PDF, and what's cool is you have all these different options. You can do 3-panel, horizontal, vertical. You can either do a full page, or you can do like little thumbnails. And there's all these other ones, but typically when we export a PDF, it looks like this. So it looks a little bit more presentable. See, all the action notes are there, all the dialogue's there, the timing, so they can just read it to their heart's content, and they don't have to watch anything. Whee!
So how does it decide where to break it up? Like,
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to show you how to do create panels.
okay.
So, typically, say if you were doing a new scene, you just can either do Command P, or P, and you get a new panel, and this is your scene number, but let's, for consistency, say it's scene 19. Oh, wait. Oh, this is the same scene, sorry about that. Typically, like if you want to make like a new scene panel, you go up here, and this makes a new scene. Here's the numbers, here's the first panel. Let's just call it 20. And you can extend it, or you could shorten it like this. And say if like you wanted to create a whole bunch of layer defaults, like typically I like to have, grid, character, and then there's the background. And like I want to do that for every other thing I do, but I don't want to have to keep manually typing that. You can go to, let's see here. Hold on, oh, here we go. Go to layer right on top, and then you do set layer as default. And say if I want to make another panel or a new scene, oh look, it's all here. Everything's already here again. And the other good thing is, say if you wanted to export a QuickTime of your stuff, you go to export, movie, and you can make it any size you want. And the other good thing is, say if you only want to export a portion of your stuff. You can go to selected scenes, you hit select, and you just hit whatever stuff you want to export. Let's just click on these for a second. Make sure it's going to the right place. This is put on the desktop for now, and we'll call it the Oh, and you can also add time code. And then once we hit export,
This file already exists.
hey, look at that!
Oh, that's so fast.
Look at that, a time code. How interesting. What's your question?
Is there like an actual like grid preset, or do you kind of just have to make your own?
Actually, you can make your own grid.
Well, no, but I mean, like, is there like an actual like kind of like mock 3D grid or something, or you just kind of have to draw the grid yourself?
I'll show you. This
Okay.
is guides, and typically you want to click on this, and there's all these different types of grids. Like one.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Let's see here.
Do you have to put it on like a new layer?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just learned how to do this, obviously. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there you go. See,
Oh,
and there's your
cool.
1-point perspective.
Oh, I like that.
Then you can also use 2-point perspective.
Oh, very nice. Oh.
So-
Look
That's
at
the best
that.
new thing ever.
Oh.
Like I just found out about this lately because I did used to.
I wish Flash had that. Man.
What does Flash have?
That's what it has.
No, it doesn't. That's why Toon Boom's where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do this, but I'm gonna try to make more of a habit to use
Yeah. An actual
my actual grid.
A mathematical grid.
Yeah.
I love that.
But
so much.
so these are all the essential tools that we use. Like again, brush, pencil. Oh, and here's another cool thing. You typically have a vector layer, and this is what it looks like, which is what we do on everything. But the other cool thing is, here is bitmap layer, and there is a plethora of different types of brushes. Like my personal favorite, the pipe cleaner one,
Eh.
and it looks like that. See, and you have all different types of textures you can work with in a bitmap.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is your, what's your default setting for drawing? Because everything's so clean. So I saw that you're using brush number 4.
You know what? It depends. Like it varies on how big the scene is. Because typically, say if I do a shot that's where the characters are small, I can just do a number 5 brush. It will still look just as thick. Like, I'll show you an example. Let's click out of here. 5, and like say if my characters were really tiny, that's what's great about it. It zooms in with the brush size. But you know, typically, when you zoom out, it just looks small.
Yeah, so usually you like to use brush number 1 to number 4, but they're just different sizes, right? So it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I typically use a brush 20 for like
That's good to know.
most of my stuff, so it just feels like
I
everything
just put it like 9.
goes faster that way.
Cool. Perfect.
And I'm going to show you camera moves. This is really handy. So typically, this is what a camera move can look like. Whee.
Oh, is that like an actual camera?
Yep. So what you do for that, let's just play pretend and get rid of this stuff. I will go from, you have to click on this camera box here. You go to properties and you hit your keyframe here. And then you end your keyframe there. And also like, I'm gonna explain how to break up your scene panel as well. And then you do your keyframe end here, and the blue represents the first frame, the red represents the end frame. And when I pull that over here, it looks like this. And the other cool thing is, like right now we're in stage view, so when I'm playing this is what it looks like in the full size, but you want to use camera view, because that way, no matter where you are, you can just see everything as is.
Can you have both views present at the same time, like in different windows?
I don't know about that part yet. Like, I haven't seen anyone else play with that yet, but this is typically what it looks like. And
Because I know you can do that in After Effects, so I would imagine you can do it in this.
And like, let's say like I wanted to split the panel boxes to have her do other things. Like, you know, we're in panel 5, like scene 5, panel 1. What you do is you could right click here, split panel at current frame, and look, panel 2. And again, you could just draw something else to go with it, and then you can right click. You can right click again.
That is a very sad state.
Wait, sorry. Right click again. Panel 3, and then you do it again, and it shows up in those boxes with your camera move.
I like this
That's
show.
so handy.
But sometimes the one thing about doing camera moves, like it looks great when you do it QuickTime, but usually when we do a PDF file, the boxes, like they just show it across the board, and sometimes they might want to see everything panel by panel by panel. So for that, we might do a staccato camera move, which is typically like this. Doop, doop, doop. Like that. And to do that, here, let's get rid of these for 1 second. You know, you go here, and then like, now the thing is, you see how the scene number is 5A? We have to split this. Split panel at current frame. Oh wait, not that one, not split. Split current scene. And you have to give it a unique name so it doesn't clash with all the other scene numbers. So it's like 5A-1, but typically when I do 5B, 5C, etc. And then this is a whole other part within here, and then when you move it, right click, split. And when you move the camera this way, it makes it look like, oh, it's moving that way too. And that's what we call a staccato camera move.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry. So there's no way that the program, I was always wondering how you guys did that because the camera moves make the files really big, right? Really slow. And so you have to do that a lot, especially with big camera moves. Is there a way that Toon Boom does it that you make the camera move and it automatically splits it up?
Well, the only way you can really do that is, like say if I'm here, and like you click on your camera point, and then
Make keyframes for each
you
panel?
have to like make keyframes for each of them, and then you put it beginning to end to where it is. Then, oh yeah, and then yeah,
Oh, that's so handy. Okay.
I want to see how that looks. But that's typically what you can do as well.
So I see that it has like the motion path there in the camera move. Can that be like edited at all to give it like a curve or anything?
Yes, you could click on this line here, you bend it, so now it looks like whoosh.
And can you also like edit it like at the end, like pulling like a kind of yeah.
Yes, so you go over here, so if I wanted to ease out, and I just hit like maybe, let's say 20, let's see how that looks. Hit play. And again, like with all the panels, you could extend it any way you want. Like, if you go here, you see how it's going from, like when I stretch it out, it goes from, 36 frames, 56 frames, or if I want it to be even shorter, just bring it down to here. Now it's only 3 frames.
So if you do like a staccato camera move, can you still like stretch out the timing of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like, this is the same move, but, I can still extend it if I want to. Same for this one. And I'm going to show you quickly, like, good examples, or at least, like, what you want to use for good cutting.
And this is a stupid question, but is there multiplay?
You could do that, but, like, it's the same thing using this. Like, say if I wanted to click that.
Oh, so you just kind of have a separate camera move on each layer?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So, like, you know, say, like, where are we? Actually, yeah, I can show you really quickly.
So there's no like built-in parallax or anything?
No, not that I. But typically, this is what I've seen other people do. Like, say if I was doing her here. Okay, let's see here. Click on this. Okay, keyframe. And then, and the keyframe here. Hey, that works. But let's say if I wanted to parallax the background as well. So you want to have that little guy on. Let's just lock that for 1 second. And, okay. Let's click on the background. Click on your keyframe. You can bring that over here. End it here. I don't know why that's in the middle, but move this. And look. Oh my god. Look at the way it moves.
James, so you just showed us how you can curve the camera move a little bit ago. Could you like kind of draw the camera move so that you have like a camera shake? Or sort of like a, you know,
You can probably drag like the different like.
You can drag the different points.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, like say if.
And that's what you would do in that sort of situation.
Yeah, like so if I wanted to do a camera shake, you would have to go like add another one here, here, play around with it.
So that's really sad.
Yeah, add here, and then another one here. It's gonna look like this.
That might be sad.
Oh man, cameraman needs his medication.
And I'm going to show you real quickly good examples of how you lay out your storyboards. So let's say like a show like SpongeBob. It's like, you know, typical like simple staging. But to keep it interesting, let's say like your first cut is your two characters. Like, hey Francis, you want to go get something to eat? And then you cut to Francis. Yay! And it just, you know, cuts to him. And then it cuts back to Blue like, Francis, I'm not getting you Five Guys. I'm not made of money. But like, that's just a simple way of doing your shots. Like, and as long as like, this would be a bad way of cutting. Like say if, for example, Francis would be over here. Like if he was here and if Blue was there, that's not good. You don't want to do that. You want to like give the characters a little space so it looks like you know he's speaking to Bluehilda off screen and she is speaking to Francis off screen. And that's like typical like simple ways of cutting. But if I wanted to take it a little bit further, you know, here's the simple two-shot, but you can also have Francis down here as if Bluehilda's looking down at him, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting and varied, so it's like he's from a different angle from below.
But it's also more work.
But it makes it so much cooler. And then, again, like, keep your shots varied, like 2, 1, and then 2 again, but there's different sizes this time. And like Francis is like in the foreground, Bluehilda's a little bit in the middle ground. Because that's another way you can do your stuff. I mean, I typically want to do this because it just makes it feel much more dynamic. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. So with that 3D button up there, does that mess up your workflow when you start? Because I know with that, you can start messing around with I guess, 3D camera moves, but I didn't know that was like an issue if you're always working in 2D.
You know what? Like we never really played around with the 3D or 2D.
Okay.
Just played around with just making new panels and just making camera moves that work and just making the workflow easier. Like this thing is, there's a couple of things I haven't tried yet, but
So what does the 3D versus the 2D do that's different?
I really have no clue actually.
Oh, let's find out.
I don't know if it really does anything.
You can change the panel Z space that way.
Oh, well, then you can have parallax.
I didn't know that messed up the rest of his timeline or not, so I wasn't sure if that was like compatible with like the rest of the shot.
I haven't played around with that part yet. Like essentially I'm just trying to show like the simple basic stuff you can do first just to dive into it. And then along the way, like as I was doing it, it's like, oh, I can do that? Cool. Like you're gonna learn like a whole bunch of other useful technical things to do. But this was just a simple, easy dive into the program kind of thing. And does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, can you import scenes from this straight into Toon?
You mean Harmony?
Yeah, Harmony.
Aaron, you can do that, right? Like
Yeah, once when you export from this, you can export directly to Harmony and it'll split up your scenes into Harmony files.
yeah, like right here. To Toon Boom.
Oh.
And then also
Oh, look at that.
just make sure everything is where it's supposed to be.
So you can actually you can export a bunch of panels as or you could export a panel as a scene for Harmony, right?
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
That's very convenient.
Yep, that's where Harmony's at.
Uh,
Huh, I wonder.
Maybe I didn't change the desktop this time. It's like we won.
But I just generally wanted to show you guys like the simple examples of like how you get started with Storyboard Pro, and I highly recommend it. It's a great program.
Has it changed your life?
It has. It magically changed my life. And if you all want, you can all want to take a crack at it.
Yes.
All right. So let's see, how many people do we have here? We got.
No, I'm getting very
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, maybe let's say we do like 12 panels. So. So if you guys want to play around with it,
Oh, you know I do.
have at it. Look how simple that is.
Wow.
You don't have to use Flash ever again.
So the color. So in Harmony, it you have your color, right? And if you're like, this is my dude color, and it's blue, and then you're like, oh, I want him to be pink now. You just change the color labeled dude to pink. And is
Just
there
like
any
in
way to get
Toon Boom?
Storyboard to function that way?
I don't.
I'll bet it is just like Toon Boom.
Well, I don't know. I just my thesis.
Yeah, like
was
could you
Storyboard
add
to
I see little notes there on swatches. Could you create a
Yes.
Bluehilda swatch and then
Yep.
and then change the color?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And you can do you can make a whole bunch of different colors. And the other cool thing is say if let's say for example, no, not that. I don't want these. Hit the minus.
Works like that too.
What does?
InDesign,
Oh.
the color swatches, where you can change them for the entire file.
But InDesign, that's Adobe, right?
But
Which is
let's say for example, this is like a color palette.
Adobe's been holding
And then
that
what you do, you could also export your colors. And let's go here.
Yeah, I didn't even learn the Adobe program for very long. I learned it for a year and then just went straight to Toon Boom.
And then you say your palette.
You went to
Whatevs.
Sheraton?
You save it, and then like let's say like none of these are here.
Oh, and then you can import.
It's like no problem, import,
Um,
and then here's
so
the
it
palette.
doesn't like back up your palettes right in your package?
Not all the time. Like usually, if I'm going into other people's files that I have to grab stuff from or just work off of, there's no colors whatsoever. So it's like no problem. Go here, open.
That sounds more like a production issue than
Because I know in Harmony it there's a palette folder and it just backs them up.
Yeah, but for some reason, like I don't know why it doesn't have like that whole like if a color's blue and I wanted to click on the blue, it doesn't do that
it's like you couldn't change that blue swatch like that. You can't
across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you can't though. I mean,
That's peculiar.
Maybe it still shows. I guess I would just change it to a different thing and not make it smart. Because I was thinking, while you're clicking on it, like I don't know if it, like if you can adjust it at all.
typically, like if I wanted to, just click on like in Harmony, select by color, and it just selects the blue.
But you can't actually change that blue to another color.
Not unless you do it by hand.
I mean, but yeah, if you wanted to change it, I mean, you could just easily do that too.
Oh, well there you go. That's easy.
Yeah, that's another way you can do it. I mean, you don't have to, but like I like to do that so that way there's nothing across the board. Like there's no like little green pixels anywhere in the corners or anything like that.
But there's no way of adjusting the swatches themselves.
I don't think so. I don't think it can do that like Harmony. But would anyone like to give it a shot?
Sure.
Anyone like to?
I'll go. What do you want me to try?
Do whatever you want. Oh, and if you want to move forward with the panels,
Turn them into baby ball.
you can do Command F to move forward and Command A to move backwards.
No,
That's so
babby,
handy.
babby ball.
Honestly, you changed my life with the import script thing. I was like, because I've been hand typing them.
But oh, no problem.
So we just doing
Yep.
drawings for fun.
It is almost 2.
Is it 2?
We got 10 minutes.
No.
So if anyone wants to give it a shot,
Well, I work in storyboards. Does anyone never been? Okay.
who wants to
Who's
try?
never tried? Oh, come on.
Still share.
It's very skills.
What?
No, we're all friends. Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention.
One more thing.
So like, you know how in animation you like to have onion skin?
Yeah.
They're delicious, but you can go on top of this little guy here. This little thing looks like and you can have your previous panel or your next panel,
Oh, that's
and all that shows up.
You can only
You-
go back a certain amount.
You can go to 3 Seth, but you can only go back so far. But you can also just have no previous panels and next panels any way you want. But it's pretty useful. But if you have a background, it's not going to read that great.
What is that one over there? That one that's with the plus sign? Yeah, that one.
Oh, I guess you can.
Oh.
You can expand it.
Jokes on me.
Well, I think maybe, you do like that, like drag like the bar maybe.
What if you want to raise 30?
Oh, I see. You can look at, I don't think you have that.
I think you can only look at like what's ahead this way.
And like have it fill out your
Cool.
Yeah, but only like I don't think you can do that across the board. You just have to click on it.
And split it.
So that's only per thing. Per
Yeah.
Well, I think that's so that you
In the scene section, in like whatever scene you're in, that's how you can see across the board with the separate panels.
Okay, so it doesn't keep going.
Man,
Yeah.
I think I should just get a free trial and play with it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Well, they're
$4
actually.
million.
You're a student, it's $9 a month.
Okay.
But there's also
It only makes me meeting.
but it's $800 for like
If you have
the perpetual license. That's what I got. For the
I don't know what you just had, but I know for the month-to-month, it's $9.
Right.
Literal client.
But sometimes schools give you like give it to you for free.
I'm unclear, I've never heard of it.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because most schools have a program package, right? Where you pay.
Thank you, James.
I really hope this was helpful.
James, you were lovely. Thank you so much.
It's recording, and you can keep talking for another 10 minutes, but I just wanted to.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and if you guys wanna play around with it before you go